Leadership isn't about a title that you have. It's more about the ability to earn someone's trust.
I wanted to start the first game. I wanted the ball.
Football is an emotional game. It's a passion, love affair.
You dream about being one of the best, you dream about winning a Super Bowl, with all of the moments in between define your career. I had to be able to do it my way.
How are you, Jeffrey? It's a good looking background you got there.
I had to do it upright for you there, Paul. Greetings
Appreciate
from
it.
Las Vegas. Thank you for joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and talk a little NFL icons with you.
Oh, and that would be something that, I'm a movie nerd. I wasn't a sports kid growing up. All my best friends were, all my college friends, everyone. So I've been around football my whole life. And now the Raiders here in Las Vegas, which I never thought in my life that would ever happen. So there is so much interest in NFL here in Las Vegas, and it's just on fire. So thank you for joining me today.
Oh, it's a real pleasure. Glad to be here.
So NFL Icons Season 3 on MGM Plus streaming. Who's featured this season? 4 NFL Icons. Tell us about it.
So we have 4 episodes this season, starting October 21st with the premiere with Jim Brown, Bill Cowher, former Steeler head coach and Super Bowl champion, and finish out season 3 with Mike Singletary, the Hall of Fame middle linebacker from the vaunted Chicago Bears, head coach of the 49ers. So we're really excited about this season. It's a really diverse group of characters, careers, stories. 1 posthumous story in Jim Brown, and then 3, or posthumous production, I should say, in Jim Brown, and then 3 that we did new interviews with. We think it's a really interesting mix of guys who came from different places, walked different paths, and had different influences in different ways, but all really profound influences. I think that's the thing that kind of makes them all stick together under this umbrella of icon. Someone who's really was changed by football, but helped change the game and the folks around them as well through the course of their career and their life.
And as producer of the series, do you try to get stories or moments that haven't been told by these legends?
Absolutely. I think these are in some ways the usual suspects. They're Pro Football Hall of Famers. They're the type of players and coaches and figures that we've been documenting and telling the stories of, in many cases, from their rookie years. Nowadays, we do it from their high school and earlier days in terms of players coming up now. But they're people they're the names that but we like to say that the Icon series are fresh football movies that are 50 years in the making, because they really represent the capture and documentation of these players from the beginning of their career and in almost in intervals. All these guys are people that we've been interviewing in some cases every few years for 30 or 40 years. So by having all that content at our disposal, but also a platform on MGM Plus to really let us stretch our legs as storytellers, we're able to give you the moments that but really get into the deeper layers of those moments in games, and sometimes get into layers that we've never explored before. So we definitely aspire to be revelatory in this series as well as reflective, especially in the new interviews, to get guys to give a new perspective. If we are covering a Super Bowl you've heard about or a draft day you've heard about, we like to do it through the lens of, hey, maybe you're now 60 years old and you're looking back on a day we've never asked you about. What's your life sort of in the rear view perspective of that moment now relative to maybe when we asked you about it in the late 80s or 90s or something like that.
And does your job description include access to the NFL archives and footage? And if so, you must have been a kid in a candy store.
Absolutely. No, that's sort of we stand on the shoulders of that greatness every day when we come in here. The interviews, the game footage, the sound recordings from the field, in many cases, especially with players and coaches like this, the off the field shoots where we're with their family members, often their children. In the Bill Cowher episode, you'll basically see Cowher's daughters grow up, because there's enough shoots that were done through intervals of their childhood, up until the time he was, when he lost a Super Bowl, when he won a Super Bowl, years later, as they had become parents and they had children, and he was now a grandfather with his grandchildren. You sort of see the passage of time through these films, and you truly do see these guys age and change and evolve as their mindset, sometimes their physical appearance. But yeah, all that's in the archives, and that's really where it all starts and finishes when we put these films together.
Some of this has never been seen before footage too, hasn't it?
That's right. The Jim Brown film comes right to mind. We spent more time on his upbringing and his college and high school years than I think I've ever seen done by NFL films. And that included, footage of him playing lacrosse at Syracuse, where he was an All-American. still photos of his high school years in Manhasset High School in Long Island, where you literally see him as a grade schooler, both in civilian clothes in his class picture, but also on the different sports athletic fields, playing youth lacrosse, high school basketball, baseball, football, all those shots of Jim Brown. You know the famous sort of Life magazine photography of the great Neil Lifers and Walter Yoses from the '60s, but to go back 15 years from that and see what Jim Brown looked like as a kid, I think helps round out the stories both visually, and then again you sort of let them reflect on something. You're seeing what they looked like at that point, and we hope it pulls on the emotional heartstrings as well.
Now, Jim Brown, long before I knew him as a football player, I knew him as a movie star. I mean, I must watch Dirty Dozen 3 or 4 times a year. Also, I'm going to Get You, Sucker. I mean, I think he was a brilliant actor as well as a sports figure.
No, he acted in over 50 films and didn't just have a volume of work, but really did groundbreaking work. When you go back to the 100 Rifles film with Raquel Welch, which we explore it really at length in this
Yes.
movie, and from a Hollywood standpoint, from sort of a civil rights movement standpoint, it was a milestone in terms of the first scene in an major American film where an African American and a non-African American had a love scene on screen. And Jim Brown was the star, and his star power, along with Raquel Welch, really helped elevate it from a marquee standpoint, but historically made it a really significant moment. So here's a guy that was not just breaking ground on the football field and changing the shape of one universe in terms of the NFL and pro sports, but here he migrates into another world of show business and the media in terms of Hollywood, and breaks ground, and then has this other prolific career. So yeah, really these massive, individually, any one of those parts of his life would have been worthy of a movie. But our challenge becomes how do you incorporate and give justice to all those elements of his career in one essentially 50 to 55-minute film.
And also, Rich Eisen is back as our narrator, and
yeah, Rich has been as much a part of this series as a huge part since the beginning. He's narrated all 20 episodes across the 3 seasons, and he's got just such great range that he's able to do. When you have such again, these epic sort of stories of individual lives, there's always going to be a lot of different notes you need to hit. There's going to be the serious, there's going to be hopefully the humorous, there's going to be just some informational and giving context in terms of their athletic and accomplishments and other accomplishments. And Rich is able to cover all bases and really elevate. It's a great challenge to have for us to write scripts that are worthy of his narration, and because the script really becomes the binding and trying to create the connections to demonstrate why these guys are so influential. And Rich is a huge asset in bringing that to life.
Is there talk of maybe a next season? There's a lot of legends to go around, isn't there?
No, we hope so. Look, every season's different. Every year programming's different. We have had a great relationship with MGM Plus, really going back 5 years now. We did a show for them back when MGM Plus was called Epics on in the world of premium cable. We did a weekly show for them called NFL The Grind. Then we moved into this more evergreen library series with Icons. We've had a great run with them, and we're hoping it continues next year. Yeah, to your point, there's plenty of other icons we'd love to dive into and give this treatment to. So we remain optimistic that there'll be more Icons episodes to come.
Well, I'm just saying, Paul, even if you're not a sports fan, I mean, this encompasses so much of these guys' lives and what they did, what they contributed to. And I just found it so fascinating. So, man, what an excellent job. So congratulations, and let's talk again soon. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, Jeffrey. Great talking to you. Thanks for having me.